The Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake.
It is the first of the month, and that means rent is due, bills are to be paid, and the Jesse Blake Sports Report NHL official power rankings are here, and we are going to make them for the month of February. I got a comment on YouTube, on the Jesse Blake Sports Report YouTube channel, by a user that goes by the name Ruka Raddb. Ruka Raddb wrote, really like this as a planned video. Yes, I have come up with the rankings ahead of time, and I'm just going to plug them into the graphic here that we have on screen. Would prefer you start at 32 and work up to first, though. That is a fabulous idea. So that is what we're going to do. Every power ranking, we start from 1 and we go to 32. It's much better if we start from 30 through 32 and then work our way up to the best. So that is what we are going to do. And what we are probably going to do going forward, we'll see how it goes today. Let me know, again, how you like this format, if there should be any tweaks. You nailed it last month. This should be the big tweak for this month. Let's get it started. The Blackhawks at 32. The Blackhawks will remain at 32. They are an abomination right now to NHL hockey. They scored a goal 1 second into the Panthers game today and then got absolutely pumped 5-1. And I still don't know what they were doing in the Mikko Rantanen trade, retaining on salary, trading Taylor Hall so early when I think his value is only going to go up the closer you get to the deadline. He's playing on the second line for the Hurricanes right now, so he clearly had a lot more legs in him. And the clear problem was that he was playing for the Blackhawks. So the Blackhawks here will remain at 32. The San Jose Sharks will remain at number 31 on our power rankings because they are doing their rebuild really good, which makes them a bad power ranking team. They sent out Mikael Granlund and Cody Ceci, I think it was this morning, right? This morning for to the Dallas Stars for a first-round pick and a fourth-round pick that could be a third-round pick. That's great value for Granlund and Ceci. They're expiring contracts. This is what they have to be doing during the rebuild. Now they have 2 first-round picks for this upcoming draft. It's great asset management. They're also like 2-7 in their last 9 games, which isn't great. And they're losing a lot, which is good for the San Jose Sharks, but it doesn't make them a good team this season. Well done with your rebuild, but bad job doing things on the ice. The Predators will remain in 30th here. The Predators, to me, are a very interesting trade deadline team. They have about $18 million in cap space for at this deadline. As bad as the Predators are right now, 30th on my power rankings, they are in perfect position to be a really good hockey team next season. Last offseason, all they did was add a bunch of pieces. And you bring in Steven Stamkos. You know, it's supposed to be this big boost to your team. You do the Saros extension. Everything's supposed to be great. They suck. But next year, they could actually be good if they sell off all the pieces that they can. They take on cap money from other teams in exchange for whatever assets and capital they can get. They should take on money from other teams and use this cap space from now to the end of the season and then dump it at the end of the season. Just only take on UFAs who are UFAs this coming off season and then flip whatever assets you need at the draft. Be good next season because the Predators can be good next season. The Sabres are a team that I don't think will be good next season because they refuse to do anything with their roster. The Sabres were at 29 last month. They will remain at 29. They're a team that has been stale for a while. I would love to see them go out and get Elias Pettersson if he is still on the market after the Vancouver Canucks traded JT Miller. If Pettersson's still on the market, I think Buffalo is a perfect landing place for him because Buffalo has done nothing. And doing nothing and failing is unforgivable. Doing something and failing can be forgivable. And if they go out and they get Pettersson, and it still doesn't work, then at least they tried. Right now, they are not even trying. And getting Pettersson might work. You know, he might be the answer. Getting him to Buffalo might turn around the franchise. He might find another level or his old level that he's not playing at right now. So the Sabres remain at 29. Not really happy with the direction of the Sabres franchise right now. Coming up at number 28. I am going to place the Anaheim Ducks here at 28. They fall 1 spot. They were at 27 last month, and now they are at 28. Cronin, their head coach, definitely needs to be let go, but There's no point in letting Greg Cronin go at this point in the season. You play out the string with a team that's this bad. You're not going anywhere. Who cares? Firing your head coach doesn't mean anything midseason when you're not trying to get a head coach bump. I think you fire Greg Cronin at the end of the season and you find somebody else who's going to make this team, who's going to usher this team into the new future. Greg Cronin is not a future of the head coach of the future for the Anaheim Ducks here. Moving up to number 27 on my February power rankings, I have the St. Louis Blues. And the St. Louis Blues here fall from 19 to 27. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spots down. So we're going to put a little -8 there. The St. Louis Blues are in the middle of a 4-game losing streak. They couldn't get Brandon Saad enough playing time to make his value decent, to ship him off to somewhere with his contract that was signed through next season. Nobody wanted to pay him the $5 million that you would owe him for this season and next season. And he wasn't playing well on the Blues at all. And if he was playing well, there probably would have been a destination for him. And well, I guess we'll talk more about Brandon Saad when we get to the Golden Knights if we want to do that in that part of the power rankings. But when do we admit that like the coach isn't the problem in St. Louis and the problem is roster construction, and that the St. Louis roster might be lacking a little, and in net, Hofer and Binnington haven't been stellar this season, and that the Blues might need a overhaul of their roster? I think we might reach that point at the end of the season, depending on how this rest of the season goes with the St. Louis Blues. At 26 here, I have the Kraken, who fall 1 spot. They were 25 last month. This month, they are 26. They are -1 on the power rankings. I wrote here on my notes for the Kraken, Grubauer. Philip Grubauer, who was, if we're talking about goalies that are bad, Philip Grubauer was waived by the Kraken and sent down to the AHL. He cleared waivers because nobody wanted Philip Grubauer at all. I want to pull up Philip Grubauer's numbers so far this season. Let's take a look at his .866 save percentage, 5 wins in 21 starts. He went 5-15. Holy cow. You're talking about single-handedly sinking a team. 5-15 will do that for you. I turn my head so much because I got a monitor on that side, but I gotta readjust that so I'm not turning so much on cam. All right, up to 25, we have the Penguins. Now, I think the Penguins made a pretty good deal getting the pick from the Canucks in the Pettersson deal. The Canucks are collecting all the Petterssons in the league. They fall, though. I had the Penguins at 18 last month because the Penguins were challenging for a playoff spot, and they have bounced right back down out of a playoff spot right now. Let's check and see where the Penguins sit in the standings. They sit, second worst team in the Eastern Conference. They have 52 points right now. Not great. They fall from 18 to 25. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots down. In the deal with the Canucks, I like the fact that they were able to unload Pettersson, get young players. This is the goal of Kyle Dubas right now. He's in real retool mode, not in full rebuild mode, but good young players who will be NHL ready soon. And this first round draft pick is a good draft pick to have for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't hate it at all. I don't think there's a lot to complain about with the Penguins move with Vancouver yesterday, completing the JT Miller trade. Utah's up next at 24. They fall 2 spots. Utah Hockey Club. I say Utah Hockey Club because we are going to get a Utah name, and it might be Hockey Club. They've narrowed it down to 3 names: Mammoth, Outlaws, and sticking with Utah HC. I think we all know Mammoth should be the choice. Outlaws is a close second. I also think they should go with a team name as opposed to HC. I've landed on HC as my 3rd favorite. Outlaws is close second, but Mammoth is winning for me right now, just because it's close we can get to Yeti. Mammoth makes for a great mascot, great little logo. Outlaws feels kind of created teamish, kind of generic. Doesn't really fit the ethos of Utah, even though I saw some people point out there's no lakes in Lakers. They stole that from when they were the Minnesota and all that fun stuff, and it doesn't really have to fit the city. But it'd be nice if it does. It'd be nice if you can. Mammoth feels very Utah. I think Mammoth should be the choice. But Utah is at 24 on my power rankings. They fall from 22 to 24. At 23, we have the Islanders. And now the Islanders move up in the power rankings. They were at 28 last month. So they go from 8, 7, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots up. And that's because they're winning. They're on a 6-game winning streak. I'm not going to overreact, though, to the Islanders' 6-game winning streak. The Islanders are a bottom 2 team in power play and a bottom 2 team in penalty kill. As of when I looked at it, I think it was yesterday. Their special teams is so bad that I think the winning streak, it's not that it's fraudulent, it's just that it doesn't mean enough. I don't think this means the Islanders are a playoff team. I think there's too many teams ahead of them that are going to hold on to their positions, and I don't think any of these teams are going to fall to where the Islanders are. The Islanders are not a playoff team this year. Their winning streak is great for the team, but it does not mean that they are a good team right now. It does not mean they should buy at the deadline and chase this. I honestly think the Islanders should sell, and they should be in retool mode just like the Penguins or the Predators. And they can be good for next year. They can be good for next year, just not this season. In 22nd place, I have the New York Rangers, who make the JT Miller trade. They lose this afternoon to the Boston Bruins, but JT Miller looks fabulous. He looks unreal as a New York Ranger. They move up 4 spots. Sorry, I was just checking to see where they moved up. They move up 4 spots. Let's look at a little green on that +4. Even though right now they sit outside the playoffs right now, I believe they even sit below the Islanders in the standings. The Rangers are right now a better team than the Islanders or Utah HC or the Penguins or Kraken or Blues, and that's why they're up there in 22nd in the power rankings. And it's about getting Igor going a little bit here. Defense is not great, so it's difficult for Igor to play good hockey, to be a really strong goaltender, be otherworldly goaltender right now, because the defense is really struggling in front of him. But we need a couple more saves out of him. We need the defense to be a little bit more solid. The offense seems like it's going to pick up, especially with Miller now. The Rangers got a good shot here at going on a little bit of a run. I believe it's one day after the trade. I believe the Rangers can go on a run here, 22nd in the power rankings. Next up, we have the Flyers at 21. They fall 1 spot. Oh, yes. Last month I did write Black Jackets instead of Blue Jackets. Thank you. That definitely wasn't on purpose at all. It wasn't. Maybe subconsciously? A Freudian slip? I don't know. The Flyers here at 21. They fall 1 spot. They were at 20 last month. The Kuzmenko acquisition from the Calgary Flames. You're getting a player in Kuzmenko who, when he can't score goals, is essentially useless. I hope he finds his old self in Philadelphia, because he was so electric in Vancouver. I think it was 39 goals the year he came over and played for Vancouver, and then he not great the second year. They traded him to Calgary, has a great hot start with Calgary, falls off with Calgary. Who can keep Kuzmenko at his height of his ability and not allow him to trail off? If anybody can do it, it's John Tortorella. If John Tortorella can't do it, then nobody can do it. So I think we might see a Kuzmenko bump with Philly, which would be great for this offense because they desperately need it. Next up at 20, the Montreal Canadiens. All right, now it says February at the top of the power ranking. Sorry, I just want to switch that. Now back to the Montreal Canadiens, who are at 20. They move up from 23 to 20. That's 3 spots. I love everything that's going on with the Montreal Canadiens right now, and I think they're poised to have a giant championship window open very soon when everything comes to fruition. They have this kid named Ivan Demidov. He's a winger. He was drafted 5th overall in last year's draft. And currently, his numbers in the KHL as a 19-year-old, 42 points in 50 games, 19 goals, 23 assists. You're going to add this kid to this Montreal Canadiens roster that's on the cusp of the playoffs. They're not quite playoff ready yet. I don't think so this season, especially because of how tough that East race is. But they're going to be good in a year. They're going to be really good next season. They're going to be really good the year after. And you're adding this kid in Demidov who looks like he can step right into the NHL, hopefully next season, and score right away and be an impact player right away on the right side of the ice for the Montreal Canadiens. Watch out for Demidov. He's going to be a stud in the NHL for the Canadiens. 19, we get the Detroit Red Wings, who are moving up in the world. They go from 24 to, I almost put them in 20. They go from 24, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots up in the standings. They go from 24 to 19. And the Detroit Red Wings are playing really well. They're playing really good hockey. They had a good win. They had a good win streak when they fired Derek Lalonde. They get the new coach bump, and now they're on a little bit of a win streak again. Their first win streak was just being power play merchants, and now their next win streak, I believe it's 4 in a row. Now they have a shot to go on their Western road swing and sweep it. Like there's an honest to goodness shot that I don't know the result of the Calgary game, but they've already beat the Oilers. They can easily handle the Flames. The Canucks are reeling, and then the Kraken aren't very good. And then this is after they beat the Canadiens, the Lightning, and the Kings. None of those teams are bad teams. Like those are good teams and teams ahead of them, the Canadiens and the Lightning, ahead of them in the playoff race. They won the games they needed to win, and that's really important right now in this season for them. For like every game from here on through the end of April is important. You know, it's important for their playoff hopes, and I think they've gone way too long without a playoff date, so they got to be chasing that. I think 19 is right where they should be right now because they got to prove that they can sustain this. They got really low in the season early on, low down in the standings, like they lost a bunch and they were reeling, and now they're climbing their way back up. So if they can continue this, get back up into this playoff race, or they're in it right now, will hop some teams in the playoff race. They could be dangerous, but it's going to be really tough because of the teams ahead of them here. The Canucks at 18. That is where they will land. They will drop from 14 last month. 1, 2, 3, 4, -4. The Canucks drop 4 spots from 14 to 18 on our power rankings. I wrote 5. You know, when you just hit the wrong button sometimes. I am not a fan, I've said this so many times, of how the Canucks have been playing hockey lately. The JT Miller trade doesn't immediately make them better on the ice. It could make them better simply because of you're getting rid of a distraction. Now you're less distracted, but now there's pressure on the players to perform. They're NHL players. They should perform under pressure. But they go out and they lose 5-2 to the Dallas Stars last night. And it's literally night of trade. You can't expect the franchise to look different and all that night of trade. But tomorrow, I believe, is tomorrow the big game. Yeah, big game tomorrow against the Red Wings. As I just mentioned, the Red Wings, who are right there with them at 18 and 19 on the power rankings. They got to show up against a hot Red Wings team. This is the test right now. And it's such a small sample size, but this is it. Heedle's going to be in the lineup. They're going to have, I think, Marcus Pettersson too. They'll have all the Petterssons in the lineup. It's such a big test for this group here. And it's like, okay, we did it. You asked for this. One of Pettersson or Miller are gone. You have a hot Red Wings team come into town to face you at home. You better show up. You didn't show up against Dallas, but that's okay. It's one night. Now's the game. There's a lot of pressure on the Canucks for this one game. I'm going to be tuning into that, and we'll see what they can do. 17, the Calgary Flames. The Calgary Flames who are battling with the Canucks for that final wild card spot. I really like what they did. They're -1 on the power rankings. Last month they were 16. This month they are 17. We are halfway through. I like what the Flames did in the trade. Kuzmenko wasn't working out with them. Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee should be a lot better than what the Flames had. I think Morgan Frost is a great young player. You know, you don't want to lose Pelche, but I feel like there's an upgrade there for the Calgary Flames. And I'm not going to ever criticize the team who's getting better on the ice. And I think the Calgary Flames got better on the ice with that trade with the Flames or with the Flyers. And the Calgary Flames are in a position where they were trying to be really good a number of years ago, where they lose that series to the Oilers. They end up trading Kachuk. They do the big Huberdeau thing. And everybody thought they'd be so much better. Last season, they were awful. They sell off a whole bunch of pieces, but they still have Kadri and Huberdeau and all of the veteran pieces that they had accumulated from when they thought they were going to be really good, when they thought they were really good. So they still have those guys, and those guys are competing hard this season, have them in a playoff spot. And I think the Flames are a playoff team this season. I thought they were a playoff team back in September, and then I rethought everything. I was like, no, there's no way they're a playoff team. And now I'm like, they're a playoff team again. I think they can maintain their position in the standings, especially with the way Dustin Wolf has been playing. Dustin Wolf has been unreal for them all season. So I think they stick in a playoff spot, and we see the Flames in the playoffs this season. The Bruins fall one spot. The Bruins beating up on the Rangers today are back into a playoff spot, but the Bruins of late have not been very good. The Bruins weirdly are like not good at scoring goals at all, and also not good at stopping goals, but yet still find a way to win games. They can't score, they can't defend, but they win games. It's very odd mixture of a team. One thing that's really interesting about the Boston Bruins right now, Nick Kypreos had Brad Marchand on his trade board. Now, I don't know how credible Nick Kypreos' trade board is, but I assume there's some inside knowledge going on there. Brad Marchand, he likened it to the Dallas Stars acquiring, it was when Joe Pavelski left San Jose for the Dallas Stars. He likened Brad Marchand potentially leaving the Boston Bruins to that situation. Now, do I think the Boston Bruins are going to trade Brad Marchand? No. Does his contract expire at the end of this offseason? Did we just see Mikko Rantanen get traded? Yes, those two things are fact. I don't think it's on the table, but if the Boston Bruins were, say, to go on a crazy losing streak here before the trade deadline, things could get interesting. And I don't think Nick Kypreos probably made that up. So we'll see. We'll see if they'll trade their captain. I don't know. I don't know. I just thought I'd throw it out there. Next up, the Los Angeles Kings at number 15. They dropped 10 spots. Not a good power ranking for the Kings, but I think they earned it by losing. The Kings are on a terrible losing streak. Let me just triple check as I'm recording right now to see if I have a latest on the Kings. Okay. So losing streak has been capped. Good thing I checked in the middle of my recording. They do beat the Hurricanes today 4-2, which is good. Good. They got out of their slump. The Kings were on a 3-game losing streak, and then before that, they lost to the Blue Jackets in OT, and then they won a game and then lost two more, and then won a game and then lost two. They have not been good lately since around mid-January. That's why they've fallen so much in these power rankings. It's losses to the Flames, Oilers, Kraken, Penguins. Like I said, that OT loss to the Blue Jackets. They lose to the Red Wings, Panthers, Lightning. Whole host of teams all over the standings they've been losing. And it's been a real lack of goal scoring. It's been a real lack of goaltending. Hasn't been pretty. I think the goal scoring thing is just being on a giant drought is probably the biggest reason that the Kings were on this losing streak of 3 straight games. They're shut out in back-to-back games against the Lightning and Panthers. But now they've picked up a win against the Hurricanes. So we'll see if this turns around turns back around their season, but that little stretch there from mid-Jan through to end Jan causes them to fall this far in the standings, down to 15. And I do have my Byfield jersey behind me if you're watching on YouTube. Yes, but I cannot rank the Kings higher than 15th. Next up, at 14th, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning, who fall 2 spots. Tampa Bay Lightning, who are currently out of a playoff spot. And I am not concerned about the Tampa Bay Lightning's missing the playoffs. I think they get one of the Boston or the Blue Jackets spot there in the standings. But should we be concerned about the Lightning missing the playoffs? And I'll combine these two. The Blue Jackets are at 13, and the Blue Jackets here are the ones who could take the Lightning's playoff spot. The Lightning might be also able to steal the Boston Bruins one, the second wildcard spot. But the Blue Jackets move from 21, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spots up ahead of the Lightning. They've been playing so well lately. They feel, I said this on the Steve Dangle podcast, they feel a little Philadelphia Flyers-ish, where they might tail off towards the end of the season, even though they maintained a playoff spot for most of the season. But because who would have expected this? Who in their right mind would have expected the Blue Jackets, with the roster they have, with everything they've been through, to make the playoffs? It's an unbelievable run they're on, and I have them as the 13th best team in the league right now. I don't know how they're doing it. They're getting some really good goaltending from Merzlikins. They had a great comeback win on Friday. I don't know if anybody out there saw the game, but they trailed all game 2-0. Like, it was written in the cards. Okay, you've been playing well lately, but this is kind of schedule loss. You know, you're playing your backup goalie. It's on a Friday night. You played a bunch of games in a row. There's no way you beat Utah on the road. It's the second. You just beat the Golden Knights the night before. Thursday, you beat the Golden Knights. Friday, you travel to Utah. Second night of a back-to-back. You're down 2-0 all game, and they come back. They come back with goals on the back of Marchenko, Kent Johnston, and then the OT winner. And I'm sorry, Lightnings fans, I didn't talk about you a whole bunch here, but I got worked up on the Blue Jackets because Zach Werenski scored the OT goal on Friday. And Zach Werenski was left off of my midseason Hart Trophy ballot. That needs to be fixed real quick, because Zach Werenski is a large reason that the Blue Jackets are where they are. And if they get into the playoffs, he better be on every Hart Trophy ballot. He better be right there with Quinn Hughes for the Norris Trophy. If the Vancouver Canucks fail to make the playoffs and they slip down the standings, Zach Werenski's got a good shot at passing Quinn Hughes for the Norris Trophy first place votes. Like, right now, I got Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar right there. I'm like, Quinn Hughes is in first. If the Canucks miss the playoffs by, it'll be close. Like, they're going to be close to a playoff spot, but if they miss, we're going to have to debate if Werenski's season was more impressive if he gets the Blue Jackets into the playoffs. There's going to be a good Norris Trophy case for Zach Werenski. That's all I'm saying. Right now, Quinn Hughes is number one, but there's a good chance we get to the end of the season and Zach Werenski's the one who needs the Hart Trophy votes. Maybe it's a 4th place vote. Maybe it's a 3rd place vote. Maybe it's a 5th place vote. But somewhere in the voting, he needs to be there. And there's a good shot he gets the Norris Trophy. I'd love to see him get at least a little bit of love either way for that trophy. Next up, number 12. Last month, the Lightning were at 12. This month, the Ottawa Senators are at 12. And the Ottawa Senators move up from 17 last month. That's 5 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 spots to 12. Josh Norris scored another short-handed goal tonight. That's back-to-back games with short-handed goals. That's 3 shorties for the Sens in the last 2 games. Josh Norris, I'm so glad he's back in the lineup for my fantasy team. Big Josh Norris guy because I root for him every single game because I want my fantasy team to do well. Second player in Senators history with a shorthanded goal in back-to-back games, joining Daniel Outfordson on October 27th and November 1st, 2007. History was made for the Senators and Josh Norris. At number 11, we have the Colorado Avalanche, who made the biggest cojones move by trading away Mikko Rantanen when they could have had Mikko Rantanen. The Avalanche do move up here 2 spots. They were at 13 last month, and they are at 11 this month. So the Avalanche there move up 2 spots. They got pretty comfy in a playoff spot because of how bad the bottom of the West is. That is why they are moving up in the world. And I applaud them for making the Rantanen move, for knowing that they're not going to sign him to that deal and not building your team like the Leafs. I applaud the Avalanche for not building your team like the Leafs, where you have a bunch of top-heavy stars. They saw that's not a good recipe for success, and I don't blame them. Here are the New Jersey Devils at number 10, and they do fall 1, 2, 3, 4 spots on the power rankings to number 10 for this month. I was reading James Nichols, and he was writing about how Brock Besser would be a great fit for the New Jersey Devils. And I don't disagree at all. Like, goal scoring is what they're lacking right now. And if you could pry Brock Besser away from the Vancouver Canucks, like, I don't know if Besser is on the table right now, like if they're still looking to move Brock Besser, but he's been there his whole career. The Vancouver Canucks seem to be doing whatever with their roster. I think there's been enough rumors where they've wanted to trade him so many times that maybe Brock Besser could be a New Jersey Devil. It was a fantastic idea from James Nichols, and his contract does expire at the end of this season. He is a UFA with no contract, and that right-handed shot would look fantastic on the power play for the Devils. So number 9 here, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs, who haven't been the greatest this month, but huge win against the Oilers tonight. Their road trip here, this West Coast swing, they start with a win in Edmonton, very close win. Joseph Woll, Joseph Woll. He really saved their rear end in that game. Also an offside challenge saved their rear end in that game. But I think the Leafs are going to clean up on this road trip. I think they've been all over the place while at home, and they haven't been playing very many games. And now they have a shot at focusing just on hockey on this road trip. Go into this Western swing. You're playing a lot of games against Canadian teams. The spotlight is on you. They usually show up during the regular season in these moments. It feels like they are primed to go into Edmonton like they did tonight, win that game, take 2 points. Go into Calgary, get a couple points. Go into Seattle and Vancouver, get a couple points. Like, they could easily sweep this road trip, or go I think it's 4 games. Yeah, it's Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton. 4 games, go 3-1. Easily 3-1. I think anything less than 3-1 is unacceptable. 2-1-1, I'd accept maybe 2. But I think they're going to pick up a lot of points in these next 3 games here. Well, there's 4 games. They already got 2. Let's see how many more they can get. Number 8 on this list, the Minnesota Wild, who drop 4 spots. The Wild, who are missing Kaprizov for more time, which isn't great. But the focus for the Wild is Marc-Andre Fleury. What does that do for the team on the ice when you have a player like Marc-Andre Fleury making noise every single night? I wonder if it helps them play better, if it keeps them more focused, and when everybody's just talking about Fleury each week, and what the Wild do is kind of secondary, and they're missing their star players. So it's not even like Kaprizov is talking about. It's just all Marc-Andre Fleury all the time. I wonder what that does for a locker room. And it's cool to see him get his recognition, as a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's done so much for the game. Two Stanley Cups, the two there in Pittsburgh. Yeah, no, and then he has that great run in Vegas, and now he's in Minnesota. And I don't know. I think it's really cool that the game is giving him this moment, and I think we should do this with more of our players. Like, the players are the whole reason we care about the sport. We watch the sport. So I think more players should deserve moments like these when they're on their way out. All right, Panthers are at number 7. The Panthers move up from 8 to 7 there. The Panthers, the one thing I had written here for the Panthers was the Tkachuk brothers, and how in like 2 weeks, we're going to get to watch Brady and Matthew on the same team in games that matter. We're going to see Brady and Matthew on Team USA, and it's going to be absolutely electric. With the Four Nations face-off that's coming up in a couple weeks, I have the USA as my front runners to win the tournament. I think having Connor Hellebuck is a big leg up on everybody else in the tournament, and then they have enough firepower up front. Their defense is deep, just like Canada's, just like they have the similar forward group like Canada. They're deep in every way. Like, Canada might have the edge on the forward group, but you can't say that they're significantly better. And then the D's either comparable or the USA is getting the edge. And then in goal, USA is winning it by a mile. So if those are top two teams, I'm giving it to USA to be the top team. I think they're going to win Four Nations. Next up, number 6, the Oilers. They move up 4 spots here in the power rankings from 10 to 6. And I feel like the hockey world may underrate how important the John Klingberg signing is to the Edmonton Oilers. I feel like he's going to be a really important piece here down the stretch. He's not Dallas Stars John Klingberg. He's never going to be that again with all the injuries he's faced. But I think there's a lot of life left in John Klingberg. And defense has always been a spot in the Edmonton Oilers roster where they could improve. And I think having Klingberg there, just adding him for free at this point in the season is huge. And once he plays a couple more games, once he plays a couple more weeks, we're going to have the Four Nations face-off break, and then he's going to come back and have a great long stretch with the Oilers. Like, I think he's going to be the X factor for this team going to the playoffs. And I think they got to be top 3 Stanley Cup contenders right now, maybe top 2. I think they're poised for a really deep playoff run once again. Number 5, we have the Golden Knights, who fall a couple spots. The Golden Knights here fall on the power rankings. They are from 2 to 5 in the power rankings. And they acquired Brandon Saad. And Brandon Saad's numbers last season, I was reminded that they weren't so bad. Like, this season with the Blues has been awful. But last season, Brandon Saad had 26 goals. Who knew that? I didn't know that. Holy cow. What happened this season? 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points, minus 14 with the St. Louis Blues. And now he's on the Golden Knights, who are playing really well. Jack Eichel can make any line mate look great. I assume he's not going to play with Jack Eichel, but who knows? Brandon Saad might just have like a resurgence halfway through the season. He gave up $5 million in order to take up this contract with the Golden Knights. That's incredible to me. Like, I can't fathom that in my mind. Like, he signed for like 1 point something. So technically it's only like 4 mil ish he gave up. I think it's like 4 mil Brandon Saad gave up, plus the contract he signs next year. Let's say signs a 2-year contract. So he still gave up $2 million to play for the Golden Knights instead of the AHL affiliate of the St. Louis Blues. That's a lot. That's a lot to give up. I guess he's made a lot of money and now it's just all about winning, but still, $2 million is $2 million. All right, next up, we got the Stars, the Dallas Stars at 4 on the power rankings. Dallas moves up from 11. We're talking about drops. Move ups from 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots in the standings. I worry about the Miro Heiskanen injury. That is something that is going to be difficult to weather. We're going to have to wait and see how this affects them. It just happened, so we don't know. But in January, they've been a really good team. I worry a lot about not having that player. It's unfortunate what happened with Mark Stone. I don't think he did it on purpose. It's a bad incident, and I hope that with the acquisition of Granlund and Cody Ceci, that they can find a way to be decent on the back end with Granlund, Dumba, and Lyubushkin on their right side. Or Granlund. Ceci, Lyubushkin, and Dumba on the right side. So, Stars fans, I'm hoping for you. You're playing really well. This could be your year to win the Stanley Cup. A lot of top-heavy teams in the West. You're one of the best teams out there. Next up, we got the Hurricanes, who have been unreal as of late and are only getting better now that they have Mikko Rantanen. The Hurricanes move up from 9 to 3. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots up on the power rankings. I think they made a fabulous move. They positioned themselves for years with cap space for not signing guys to too much money. Their highest paid player is $9.75 million. And now you bring in Mikko Rantanen. And if you want to make him your new highest paid player this offseason moving forward, you have that ability with the cap going up and your cap structure being so great. Fantastic job by Eric Tulsky there, being the new GM, making a bold move. The calculator boys are finally running the front offices, and they are looking good doing it. The Washington Capitals are at number 2. They move up 1 spot. They are +1, and the Winnipeg Jets remain number 1 on the power rankings. The Jets and Capitals actually played today. The Jets won it in OT, and Scott Arniel had to answer the question the other day about, like, are you just Connor Hellebuck merchants? And he's like, no, we win in a bunch of different ways. And it's so poetic that today they went out and they won a 6-5 game against the Washington Capitals. They did not just shut them out 1-0 or anything like that. It was an OT game. It was back and forth, and they won it through sheer will of scoring more than the other team. They had a 4-0 lead at one point in the game. They blew it, but they did not break, and they won. Actually, it wasn't 4-0. It was 3-1. 3-1. I want to get that correct. 3-1 lead at one point in the game, and they gave up 2 late goals, 2 third-period goals to Tom Wilson and Alexander Ovechkin, and then it was Josh Morrissey who won it in OT. The Caps should be Stanley Cup contenders with the way they are playing as well. And those are our power rankings for the month of February. I will run through it one last time. 1 Jets, 2 Caps, 3 Hurricanes, 4 Stars, 5 Golden Knights, 6 Oilers, 7 Panthers, 8 Wild, 9 Leafs, 10 Devils, 11 Avalanche, 12 Senators, 13 Blue Jackets, 14 Lightning, 15 Kings, 16 Bruins, 17 Flames, 18 Canucks, 19 Red Wings, 20 Canadians, 21 Flyers, 22 Rangers, 23 Islanders, 24 Utah, 25 Penguins, 26 Kraken, 27 Blues, 28 Ducks, 29 Sabres, 30 Predators, 31 Sharks, 32 Black Hawks. That is it for me today. Let me know what you think about these power rankings in the comments on the Jesse Blake Sports Report YouTube channel. Let me know if you got any suggestions for how we should organize this. I think we found a pretty good way to do it, going 32-1. I think that's what we'll stick with from now on. That's it for me tonight. Thank you for being here. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be watching or listening to this right now, and I appreciate you for that. Good night from Toronto.
The Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake.
Jesse Blake, the guy that likes to hear his name twice in one sentence. Sure, I know him. No, he doesn't have an ego at all.